I'm going to give you a principle today on the market movement that will allow you to look at the markets a little more calm, and also realize that today in the markets we do see a lot of red for the most part. There's a few options, few things that we had go green today, but for the most part, we're looking at some red in the markets today. And really, we're looking, there was this trade we're in this morning, SOXS. I definitely have been watching this one over the last couple of days. This one was up 8% at one point, 12% before the market did bounce towards the end of the day and pulled back up. We saw some things turn green. Taiwan Semiconductor 2% down, Nvidia down about 1% here in after hours. NVTS was down big time. NVTS was down about 9.9%. We still haven't added long term, but we've been watching that one closely, seeing the volatility. How's everybody doing today? Is everyone doing good? Doing well? Let's jump into it. So, a couple things to watch here. And across the world today, the markets did pull back. Stocks definitely sold off and fear rose. And this is one of those moments that can actually decide the investing future. When you are disciplined, you see these market pullbacks, as a way to look at things as, am I prepared for what's going on here? And am I going to be able to make the most of it? So we have some comments here. AM says, how are we feeling, everyone? What's going on, AM? Feeling good today, doing well. A much expected and big corrected market movement today. And when we look at the data center market, I want to jump here into APLD here to start it off. APLD jumped down about 5% here, down to $30 a share. See them sell off after a big spike at market open. They sold off here and then sold off some more. Our long-term positions on APLD are still up over 100% over here, which is good. But today, brought the portfolio down further because we entered a trade on APLX and honestly did not go. It went according to plan, but it basically hit our stop right away. So not really the most ideal. But SOXS did run up a little bit. Didn't really get to capitalize on it the way that I wish we were able to. But here, let's take a look at the truth here for APLD. They just signed a new deal today. Before we do, let's see what's going on here. JZev, what's up, everyone? How's everyone's portfolio today? APLD had massively good news today, but tanked. Strath69ers says, can Will see the messages in here? Yes, I can. Good to see you. Puff99 says yes. Neil says, hello from New Zealand. What's going on, Neil? JZev says, buying the dip. Hey, we'll talk about Rigetti. Long-term, good investment? Question mark. We could take a look there. So, first off, okay, APLD. APLD has pulled back, and this is something that we did expect. We go over to YouTube. All right. You can pull up our own video here, and we got Tesla earnings call kind of underway right now. Okay, and we could take a look at how that's playing out today here. And we're going to go to some of the videos. We just did a video yesterday on APLD. Where was it? APLD stock. Here it is. And I don't know if you guys could hear, but I'll kind of read the caption. Basically what I say is, APLD stock also has a support that's rising. If they can't hold around this $30 range, we could see them sell back down in the next level of resistance. And it's around $28 to $25 to $28 sell down on APLD. And so that's what we were looking at, this sell down potential here yesterday. We're saying if they can continue up, why would they? Well, they're building data centers, all this. But really, we were looking at this sell down of about 10 to 13% yesterday. And, that's exactly what kind of happened. We did see them sell down further. They didn't make it down to that $25 range, but they did sell down to about $29 a share. And so, in general, most tech pulls back today. And that's part of greater market. It's not just data centers, it's not just AI defense companies, it's not just aviation tech today in the red. It's not just the financial industry in the red. It's every industry. It's not just AI. In fact, AI held a little bit better than most other industries. I think oil and gas today was the only industry today, the only market, let's see how they did, that did all right. Oil and gas did good. And that's why it's so important to have some, uncorrelated assets. That could be nice. BP was up, British Petroleum was up 3.5%, Shell was up 2.5%, Chevron was up. Oil doing pretty good today. When we look at the nuclear market, also in the red, Oklo was down 16%, primarily driven by financials there, why they're down 16%, not adding up. And the only big winner was ISRG. ISRG was up 14% after some good earnings came in. So what do I think of Oklo? I think Oklo is really cool as far as tech, really not cool as far as their financials. Financials not really adding up. So anyway, with APLD, they signed a deal today. They just came out with a new article. If I refresh press releases here. October 22nd, today at 8 a.m. EDT, they announced a new lease agreement with a US-based investment-grade hyperscaler at its state-of-the-art purpose-built Polaris Forge 2. This is approximately a $5 billion valuation here in contracted revenue over an estimated 15-year lease. So essentially, they're looking for what would be, let's see, $5 billion over 15 years. What is that? Is that just right around $500,000 in contract revenue a year? A little bit more than that. But that looks good for them. A little bit good. So they're seeing some growth in the data center markets, but the market sold off today. This is very classic. In fact, we could pull up like Tesla's reporting earnings as we speak. We search Tesla today. They had record revenue, cash flow, and EV deliveries. They continued to dip though. They were up about 7% year over year on their vehicles delivered, 497,000 vehicles. And they still dipped here, about 3%. We see them after hours, they're dipping down. And future growth in AI investing seems to be doing really good for Tesla. The other thing that we saw was Musk basically announced that Optimus will end poverty. Very interesting. I would like to jump into that in a future episode. There's a visionary approach for Optimus that is technological. We're talking medical care. They talked about envisioning the world of sustainable abundance, and that Optimus, while it's still in development, potentially could be a massive asset for any family or person or home that has Optimus in their home. Thought that was interesting. What do you guys think about that? I went to the Tesla diner in LA and I was trying to go get served up by Optimus, but Optimus wasn't there with Tammy. I took my dad, Tammy, and my cousin, and we went there, and I'm so excited. I'm ready to look and get served up by the Optimus robot. They didn't have the Optimus robot there, and I got a little bit bummed out. Revenue is still down though, year over year, about 11% there on Tesla. Net income down to just $1 billion there in the quarter, negative 16% down year over year. But they've shifted. They've gone from more of the physical Tesla cars to now into the AI space. So that's what you see with Tesla. Now again, long term, I think it's probably a good deal. Let's jump into that Rigetti stock though, because if I'm over here on the machine, This is something that we've been tirelessly working towards. I don't know if I can even really show you guys, but if I like drop into software dev, don't get upset, Ryan. But Ryan is one of our developers, and we've been working tirelessly to optimize the AI, and we're doing some really cool thing. Integrate into our proprietary AI chat. Someone asked for robotics watch list. When they're in the AI chat knows to start the process internally. But yeah, that's really cool stuff. We're integrating some AI into watch list building over here. I have a quantum watch list set up right here, and for those of you guys that use the machine, if you haven't used it or if you've seen the demos and you like what you see, you can always book a call with me if you have any like further questions. Right now, the investment is above $1,000 for the year-long access. However, you can lock in under 1,000 if you're already a StockMate, and lock in future rates as we're still in beta and we're rolling out general availability this next month. And so we're looking at Rigetti. We could look at all the quantum stocks. Look at that dip there. Rigetti's down 30 to 36. What I was saying is we can add a new asset, import from a screenshot is what we're working on here. And eventually we're getting into generating watch lists here in the next week or so. So really excited for that. But yeah, let's pull up Rigetti. What AI model do you guys want to use for our analysis today? We got Grok. Some of the benchmarking I was researching today, Grok was performing better than OpenAI and Claude. Gemini was performing on par with Grok. I've been using Grok the most. What do you guys want to use? Comments. Grok, OpenAI. So Grok is fast, considers what's happening on X. OpenAI, advanced reasoning and institutional grade analysis. Claude, thoughtful analysis with nuanced financial insights. And then Gemini, Google's multimodal AI with search engine factors. So considering all those things. All right, we got David says Grok, Eddie says Claude. And what's going on, Johnny Banana? Mike, I see your comment on CCX here. And I see Ron. Ron's from California, NorCal. What's going on? I was just on a call with an investor who just jumped into this machine. Like we'll use Claude. That's cool. But literally just on the call with an investor named John who just started using the machine today. He became a member, right? And he was just telling me that he's from Northern California. I'm from Northern California. I flew out of Sacramento initially to go to LA for something with Robinhood, and then now I'm in Buenos Aires visiting some family. Do you know that? I'm in Argentina right now. Anybody know that? Kind of cool. I think it's cool. But hey, good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. All right, Rod1, what's going on? QBTS. So we could jump into quantum right now. Am says, I would be surprised if APLD does not get the extra 800 megawatt deal. Could add 12 to 15 billion dollars with that deal, and that's a good thing to look at. All right, Annette is a user of the machine as well. She says I use Grok. All right, there's more Groks than Claude. And then Puff says Grok because Elon. All right, we're gonna search up Rigetti here. We were getting an analysis going here for Strath. So first things first, we got some, and this last week, it wasn't projecting negative 9% in the markets, but we, in general, there was a lot of consensus red into this week, and we saw that really since Thursday. I don't know, Annette, if you've seen that. I don't know if you're using Grok. Annette says I've been using Grok, but I think like most projections from our AIs into this week from when we were using it last week, primarily we're showing a negative projection over the next days to weeks. Thought that was interesting. I don't know if anybody saw that as well, because that's kind of what we saw. I mean, obviously we saw red here. Negative over the next hour on Rigetti, maybe a positive next 4 hour, negative 1 day. It's looking at the correction here with Rigetti stock. Next week is looking bearish. Okay, by next month, it's expecting some bullishness and then continuing bullishness, but really correcting over the next month, down below, probably below about $30 a share, or in that range, I think was what we're kind of seeing. And then projecting over the next year to continue. It's interesting because, from a technical perspective, I get it. And then from a fundamental perspective, I don't know if you guys know this, someone got confused, but we're literally adding Rigetti and D-Wave to do analysis, not for you to search their stock. That we're doing that right now. We can search any stock, but we're adding the ability for you to actually search and then get the analysis and then run it through the underlying technology of D-Wave or IonQ or Rigetti quantum computers. And so we're working on that too for the machine. I don't know if you guys know that, but anyway, really pumped about that. But yeah, Rigetti, here's the deal with Rigetti. They have had this recent correction here. We could take a look at. There's the red on RGTI. You can see that correction back down from that $40 price point. Let's see if we get a load here. Come on, AWS. You can do it, AWS. There we go. Oh, is it working? There we go, AWS. Okay, so Rigetti recently broke pattern. We see it sell back down, and now it's at a previous resistance here. This is the level we saw back in mid to late September, about a month ago, around that $35 price point. Now we saw it sell back down to this level, and we haven't seen these levels. I remember seeing volatility here around do you guys remember the crash back when that Nvidia announcement came out and they jumped or dipped from $21 down to $6? That was the first time, I think, probably with the exception of maybe some excited Bitcoin moments in my late teens, calling my friends, but this was one of the first times that I called family and I said, buy the dip on the quantum market, because they just crashed down to $5.50 or what it was on Rigetti. And so since then, we've seen them rally to new levels. Now, this recent big drop, we had some shorts going in the quantum market this last few months, kind of anticipating this because we have long-term. You can see I have an open position on Rigetti that's up about 238%. And I'm pretty sure that we were up over 300% earlier this week. And the reason why we invested into Rigetti initially was because of the scalability of AI. And if you see things that are requiring a massive physical location or building of something, it's not that it's bad, but it definitely opens up opportunities. Like what did Amazon do is they kind of eliminated, not altogether, because there's really great time, or it's a great time going with family or friends to the mall or what have you. But in general, you don't really need to go to the mall anymore. You just kind of order the clothes on Amazon, right? And so now the malls are like shrinking or not needing to be so huge. I would imagine, and this is something that I don't know that imagine most tech investors are thinking about this, and we're not even really close yet. It's kind of like we're still building the malls with the data centers, but technology is moving so fast that maybe at some point data centers are going to be seen as way too big. Like if we look at Applied Digital, and we were just looking at that news today for this $5 billion AI factory they just dropped earlier today, and we kind of went over it. If we're looking at the data centers and how big these data centers are that they're building, these massive data centers, imagine like a world where these huge buildings with all these servers, is there a world where those things become obsolete? Is that possible? And then what happens at that time? Do we see, like at one point computers were massive? And so the reason I say that is because that was kind of my thesis on quantum. I know they work in tandem with GPUs, and in all the conferences I've went to recently, I've learned that they don't solely work on their own. In fact, they don't have data storage. That's an issue. They're working with GPUs and AI in tandem to power the quantum computers. But ultimately, like at some point, if we're going to scale AI, wouldn't the computing get smaller the same way that for you to have a computer, you can do the computer without having a whole room that's taken up the size of a computer? We've gotten it down from floppy disks to USB drives to these tiny little microchips. And ultimately, I'm saying at some point, maybe what drives AI and scales AI is related to quantum. I mean, to me, that would make sense. Now, right now, again, I've seen the providers. You could look at Microsoft, as I was just kind of mentioning to you guys, not from a stock search perspective, but just from a utility perspective of these companies. We're looking to integrate into some of these quantum companies in our own financial analysis app. But even so, when I look at Rigetti and see the distribution, they're still fairly light. We haven't seen a lot of easy usage on Rigetti when you go to Microsoft, or if we're on the quantum kind of setup here for Microsoft, they also have IonQ here, and you can see IonQ as a provider on Microsoft, and they're over on AWS and Google and what have you as well. Does the quantum tech scale to the next level of technology? And I think so. So the long term, I'm extremely bullish. I don't think that there would be any other reason that you would see investments from Microsoft and Amazon and the Ocelot chip from Amazon and the Microsoft Majorana chip that came out, the quantum chip, and then the Google Willow chip that came out really just this last year. So like, if all those things are happening, NVIDIA is partnering. NVIDIA recently added a quantum computing sector. To me, there are indicators, and one of the indicators is market usage, which I believe we're starting to see. In fact, there's this company that I'm actually sharing it because I was really inspired by IonQ, and I got to meet some of their executives and IBM and meet some of their executives, because I'm also saying the actual solutions for quantum, you're seeing the potential right in front of you, but again, you don't want to apply a lot of potential to things. Things you apply a lot of potential ultimately can leave you disappointed sometimes, and I don't mean that in a pessimistic way. In fact, I always expect the best, always. But what I mean is, when you're looking at the potential, sheer potential, there's this thing called potential energy, right? And it can feel unnerving when you have what would be this potential energy kind of like in yourself around a company. It could be nerve-wracking when you see them correct, because they're going to correct. Because when we're talking about potential, you might say that means that there's something that is not there right now that will be there in the future. What is that thing? And we're looking at some of the full implementation and scale of the real world usage, but we're also looking at the real revenue coming in. Because when you're looking at revenue from Rigetti, market cap at $11.7 billion, and there's excellent reasoning behind why quantum is a very viable technology to solve the universe's biggest problems. And that's exactly what tech companies would love to have. In fact, that's why we're trying to integrate it into our company. But there's also the reality check. While they're getting more investments, they're seeing their assets surge. Most companies like IonQ as well, if we pull up their financials, saw their total assets surge up to about 1.3 billion. I think D-Wave, we kind of saw the same thing there. They're still not having real good revenue, and net income is still negative. And so when you look at David, and David says, so you think Rigetti will go down in the short term? there is a possibility that it prices in and continues to price in for where the financials will be 3, 5, 10 years from now. For sure, there's a possibility, as that's actually what we're already seeing happen. So obviously that's happening. And there's a big possibility that that could continue. In fact, this could be a pullback. But there's also a good possibility things go back to not full real world valuation, but if you see some of these companies go back into that $2 to $3 billion market cap in those ranges, 2 to 5 billion, or 10, it goes from a $200 billion market cap market back down to a 75 billion to $100 billion market, something like that. And then at that moment in the next few months, something like that happens, we're basically looking at Rigetti going back down to $8 to $15 a share. You're looking at IonQ going back down to those levels of what would it be, about 18 to 25 or $30 a share. It's possible, but again, I don't like to hold a lot of potential energy. I'm kind of a long-term investor. Dang, AWS, appreciate you. There we go. I'm a long-term investor in quantum, but we love to trade shorter-term plays when the opportunities present themselves. And if anything, we're looking at potential opportunities here. We see a lot of the quantum companies dip down as much as 30% over the last few weeks. And those opportunities, when they present themselves, are what we look for in trading in the shorter term. And so we'll look for those entries. We'll look for those potential trades here. And we'll see how the market continues over the next few days and weeks. And there's a reason that we put the thumbnail on the video today that says, buy when there's blood in the streets. It's because the great Warren Buffett gets so excited and tap dances to work when he knows the market has pulled back. In fact, I'm surprised that there's this funny story about how if the market's up, then his wife would leave an extra $1 in his car in the morning so that when he goes to the McDonald's to buy his whatever you call it, is it a McCafe or a McBiscuit or something? That means the market's up if he gets a little more money in the car to go get breakfast. And then if there's not an extra $1, then that means the market was down that day. And he doesn't even look at the charts. There's that guy, and the same guy, the story reads that this investor gets very bullish when the markets dip. And so he has this term that's coined, buy when there's blood in the streets, when everything's red and it's a sea of red and the markets turn to the ocean of sharks fighting and blood's everywhere. That's when you go buy your positions. And that's why we get so excited when we see red, and why it's one of the main contributors to almost all success that big companies have, or small investors have, or small business owners have. It's that they start or they begin to build momentum when the market pulls back. They start to double down or begin building when the market goes down. And so that's really what we're saying here. That is it. Jer James says, hi, Will. What's going on, Jer James? Jer James, how are you doing today as the red kicks in? AM, would you consider putting a compare feature for stocks? Let's say you want to look at 2 data centers and see estimated outcome of each in a month. Would be cool to see a compare diagram, says AM. What if I told you that we're working on that right now? In fact, there's a conversation, a couple conversations. I can actually go over to our bug department. I like sharing. I don't know if you guys like it, but I like sharing with you guys, the back end of our company sometimes. Well, like without sharing proprietary data. And I'm not worried about that here, but we've had some really good feedbacks. one of the things that Donna said that was really good. Donna said, hey, I'm getting frustrated because like I'm leaving, and when I come back, the models that I was just looking at a moment ago, I'm waiting again for 10, 15 seconds. So we actually updated that. Now you can navigate. I can go over to Quantum here. I could find Rigetti. Oh, look at that, Rigetti Computing. I can open it up and it's already loaded and good to go with the projection. So we fixed that for Donna. There's a ton of new things, but you would be surprised. Looking for ability to create multiple watch lists there from Matt Evans. Boom, we got it implemented here for Matt Evans very quickly. We're already working on that, but we're already working on the comparing models. You can see multiple watch lists here, Matt. Anything that you need, I could delete that extra energy watch list. Quantum, space tech, data centers, you name it, you can create your watch list. And even a new feature we're adding, Matt, when you click plus new asset, you can actually in the plus import a screenshot of your watch list to get it uploaded, and automatically gets the watch list built for you, so you don't have to like spend a ton of time adding every single individual asset into our system. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to features like that you just mentioned there, definitely will be adding it. Now, the market's where it is. We're going to be following again. Got to keep a close pulse on the market with this pullback because things can move up just as quickly. So you got to have a really good kind of pulse and see. It's not like, so Tesla came in with better earnings. That's a market mover. Netflix was down a little bit. APLD came in with a new multi-billion-dollar contract today. So that's a big deal. And these are the types of things that don't always immediately stem growth, but are things to watch so that if we see announcements trigger market push-ups, then we're looking at that momentum to continue for those reasons. Now, another thing to note, as things can rebound just as quickly, we're trading the other side of the market today. Our portfolio might only be down 1% or 2%, despite basically royally messing up on a trade this morning. Not messing up, but just getting a bad entry and then having hit our stop loss like right away. On APLD, APLX, after it had dipped a ton, we got in. And we've had more trades won for sure on APLD. In fact, our long-term position is still up right now, about 100%. But that one stings, But one thing that kind of helps with the sting in a market correction that's very eminent and very clear is we'll sometimes end up buying like SOXS. Like SOXS was up 7 or 8% today because when tariffs hit and the tech market corrects, or any market really, but specifically semiconductors, we saw SOXS surge. They just surged in the last few days. We've been covering them in this trend for over the last couple of days. And they're up 12% at one point today. So they're definitely seeing some surges. And so we'll be watching some of the inverse opportunities to make money when the market goes down. Just because the market's correcting doesn't mean we can't capitalize on opportunities. So we'll be watching there. And when it comes to the space tech market as well, there's also been some further corrections. The thing about space tech corrections that's different now compared to, let's say, 2022 is Redwire and ASTS. Even if you look at some of the space tech industries, you'll notice like when we're pulling up ASTS here, some of their press releases, they did get some more contracts with like Verizon and AT&T. If you look at the growth in space in 5G cellular broadbands, they're launching these satellites up into space that ultimately are able to like open up and then provide 5G cellular, back down to Earth. And so the difference between space companies now versus 2022, 2023 is that a lot of these space companies are actually seeing really good revenues already. If you look at a company like, let's say you're looking at Rocket Lab. Rocket Lab's an end-to-end space company, and they're up to like $60 a share. But it's different this time when they've surged because you look at their revenues and they're actually bringing in around $150 million a quarter. That's over $600 million in the next year. which is going to be like 30 to 40% more than what they're currently having, or actually 50% more than their current revenue of last year. And so space companies are actually bringing in revenue, and they're seeing the infrastructure like Starlink, for example, make big money. It's actually being profitable. And space companies have never been able to be profitable up until really the past few years, the past 2-3 years is what has really been the turning point for a lot of space companies. And so when we look at the black skies, the AI-driven analytics in the markets, even Rocket Lab, Redwire is got a market cap currently that's lower than their total assets at 1.5 billion, and their market cap's at 1.3. These are space companies that, as soon as a government shutdown stops and we see it reopen, which could happen any day, there's going to be more attention on these space companies, I would imagine. Now, maybe that's just my attention, but I could tell you, usually we're having attention on something because why? Because the institutional attraction could be there. So that's kind of what we'll be watching here. Key dates of Big Bear AI, we'll be watching there. Sure, James, we got their earnings coming up, so we'll be watching with seeing what's going on with Big Bear over the next few weeks. This is going to be a very interesting earnings, as they've come in with some really good infrastructure developments recently, but still haven't seen their financials really reach above 40 or 50 million dollars per quarter. And so they're expected to report results on November 10th. So that's coming up for their earnings call. So we'll be watching there with Big Bear. Yeah, Black Sky, Redwire, we're going to be watching those, as well as CTM. Again, I have long-term positions in those companies. CTM holding just under $1 a share. And they luckily secured that $100 million government contract before the government shutdown. And they're still at around or under $100 million in market cap. So I do believe CTM to be a solid play in the defense sector. But again, defense sector is seeing some impacts from the recent, the recent shutdown. So it's a dynamic market. While we see pullbacks and they can be sometimes nerve-wracking, it also means there's opportunities on the downside. So again, we're watching, the SOXS to trade the upside if semiconductors correct more. While there's red in the markets, there's other uncorrelated markets that are working really well. Most of, data centers or even airlines and aviation were down today, but oil and petroleum, for example, doing really well. Some of the things like gold that we saw do well before the recent correction, can come as a result of diversification. And so we'll kind of watch where institutions may be attracted to, and we'll most likely be trading and investing in these companies at market open tomorrow. If you guys would like to go ahead and would like to join our daily live trading sessions, it's the second link in the description to tune on in. There's StockMate there, and we have a whole community of investors, as well as our daily live trading happening in 16 hours, and you get a free t-shirt sent over to you in StockMate. So again, it's the second link below, and for a limited time, we are still, for now, having the lifetime access to Monday through Friday live trading sessions. Now, in the future, we are most likely going to be rolling back to the recurring revenue. We got a lot of requests, and we're still getting requests on getting the lifetime access versus paying a subscription. I get it. Some people don't want to pay subscriptions, but it is a recurring thing. I do Monday through Friday. I'm there every day at market open, 6:30 a.m. on the Pacific Coast. It's a little nicer here in Buenos Aires. It's early, and I'm there every single day, and I love to do it. I've been doing it for years, and I'll do it for years. But again, lifetime access is available for now. If you want to grab it, second link in the description below. If you'd like to get more insights into this AI-powered tool, and you'd like to learn and unlock this system, maybe you've already seen it, you can always check the links in the description below. If you got questions, there's a link below to book a call with me. That's right. But I do want to preface, if you're booking a call with me, realize, I'll tell you up front, this system is valued at over $1,000 a year for access. Now, as a StockMate member, it comes under $1,000. You get a really good deal. However, if that's just totally easy and you're like, oh my gosh, compared to what I've made, that's nothing, great, book the call. If that's something you're like, ooh, I really don't know about that, don't book the call, because while I'd love to talk to you, I would want to respect your time and my time. As the system, the current price you'd lock in though is essentially an investment before general availability that's happening next month. So currently it's beta, and you would lock in the investment of under $1,000 would be for the whole year, and your legacy pricing for the next year for the select features, which would be unlimited AI model generations, along with unlimited model access that we have currently on the roadmap. And so if you want to go get these models on your own, there's costs associated with that. It's going to be about $250 a month for Gemini, $300 a month for Grok. We give you the best models and access for the projections on any stock and any asset that you want in the click of a button. So if you want to grab it, again, feel free. You can make it happen in the first link below, or if you got any questions, you can send me an email in the description below. If I earned your thumbs up, guys, hit the like button. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, Jzev. Thanks, James. What's going on, AM? Thanks for tuning in. And Luna T, thanks for tuning in. Eddie, appreciate you. Jose, thanks for tuning in. Jose says the Rigetti headquarters looks a bit suspicious. Why is that? Rigetti is over at Cal Berkeley. Shaz, what's going on? Redwire. Yeah, personally, I'm holding Redwire. Continue to hold them. Appreciate you for tuning in. Thanks so much. What the beach has to offer today? Thoughts on CIFR and LAES? CIFR, I'm not sure. Haven't covered it much. LAES, I think they're really good long term. They haven't had the financials really to kick in just yet. CIFR Mining is a company that is doing well financially and has more assets than liabilities. So generally speaking, they're not so risky. So that's good. Awesome. Thank you guys. Appreciate you all. And if you're looking for opportunity, remember, attitude towards the market, especially when things pull back, make a difference. So comment the word green. I want you to say to yourself, green, green. What does it take to get green? What does it take to look at your stock portfolio and see green 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now? What can we do to look at the markets and invest in the markets to see how they're currently being operated and do what would be done 5 years from now today? That's the question. Comment the word green like you mean it. Straight says green. I see the thanks emojis. Green. Johnny says green. Say it like you mean it. I like just green. It's like Johnny says green, baby. Let's go, Johnny. Johnny's saying green. Scott says green. Sing Harm says green. Let's go. Awesome. Eddie. Green, green, green. Say it like you mean it. What would it take to get you there? Let's get you there. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.